finish the sentence, David Bowie is?
Everything that I want him to be. An icon.
Superhuman.
Well, I'm proud to say he's my pal.
An original, total original creation. His own Frankenstein's monster.
David Bowie is the genius.
David Bowie's the reason I'm in music.
David Bowie is an inspiration to everybody, man, woman, child, and he kind of gives me a reason to get up in the morning.
David Bowie is the wallpaper of my life.
God.
David Bowie is one of the finest musicians I think the world will ever see.
Without sounding too la-di-da, I think he's one of the greatest artists living in my time. And as I think Bruce Springsteen said about Bob Dylan, I'm glad to be on the earth at the same moment as him.
David Bowie is way more important than anybody who I'm not married to should be in my life.
David Bowie is David Bowie. He couldn't possibly be anybody else, even though he has been a lot of other people.
David Bowie is everybody of a certain generation. You know, I came to this exhibition really quite terrified because I knew it would represent my life at a certain age, the most important age, and so I think he reflects all of us.
I could try to find a favourite moment in his career, but it would be really tough. There are no moments in his career that I don't admire. I think if he were a painter or a writer or any other kind of artist, he would rank with the greatest artists currently working and indeed from the past. I think his achievement is completely and utterly breathtaking. And what he's done with popular music is radical, revolutionary and beautiful in the extreme. I can't say enough. And is he a mover? Anybody who shakes a leg in the way that David Bowie can shake a leg, he's one of the most influential dancers in my lifetime too. He got around to that without having to do the splits. I really dig him, as you probably spotted.
Well, I've got my favourite albums. Young Americans, probably my favourite track. Pretty Things, Millions, Golden Years, Changes. But I think my favourite era, the one that I think is the most sexy, is The Thin White Duke.
I really discovered David Bowie around Aladdin Sane. And from that moment on, every exercise, every school exercise book I had a picture of David on it. And I think I would say that's one of my favourite periods.
They're all good. It's just that it depends what mood you are when you wake up that morning. One song is more important than the song it was before, the day before. So it's just craftsmanship. It's just well-crafted tunes and great look and very inspiring.
Well, it would probably have to be the moment he kissed Mick Ronson on Top of the Pops, because I was a teenager when I saw it and it was all we talked about in the playground the next day.
Oh, most of the 1970s, I think. He was a huge inspiration, obviously not only to me, but probably all the people here this evening and virtually every band, musical artist that's come out of growing up through that period, no question.
When we started sort of going to clubs in 1978, 79 and the new romantic scene started and Spandau Ballet started, it was totally sort of Bowie's validation, really. We absolutely, drew in all the bits of Berlin and glam and young Americans, and really, if you balled that all together, you have the sound of the 80s, really.
My favorite Bowie song is Sweet Thing on Diamond Dogs, and I tend to kind of like those. I like the combination of really overwhelming kind of emotion and then that really screechy Velvet Underground guitar thing. It seems like a perfect synthesis of things that he is very good at.
About 1975. 75, 76, 77. That's 3 years, but I'd say Young Americans, Station to Station, and Len Lowe.
His mind, his imagination, sense of adventure, sense of wanting to leave traces of himself forever. So a kind of almost old-fashioned sense of stardom as immortality, and also seeing if by questing and by chasing things he can turn himself into a genius. So he's very inspirational in that sense.
Well, obviously good songs, Image, being one step ahead of the game, not turning up to things, all these things. He's highly original.
he has an internal alarm clock, and he knows exactly when to do something and when not to do something, as has been proved by the probably enforced vacuum that he's been living with the last 10 years. So it's extraordinary. I can't wait to see the exhibition. I'm very, very excited.
He's the most professional person I've ever worked with in 53 years. I'm delighted that the V of A and his management picked my photograph to represent this show amongst all the others that did, because it's the epitome of my career working for guys like David Bowie. He is easily timeless.
For me, he's literally the icon of our times, and I think even what's happened in the last month is such a testament to its relevance and modernity and timelessness at the same time.
I think that he's kind of got a completely different vision than anyone that's really ever been in music, and I think he just does things that people wouldn't think of doing, and I think that's incredible.
He just had the most brilliant nose on the planet. He could sense a zeitgeist before anyone else, and he managed to channel those ideas back out to his fan base.
He's an individual, and I'm quite a big believer in individuality, and he didn't sort of follow any trends or in the shoes of anyone else. He was a complete trendsetter.
We wanted to place David Bowie firmly in the present tense for the exhibition, but it's also both a statement and an unfinished sentence. It's a sentence that you can end in all kinds of ways. And in the exhibition, we don't really come down one way or another. We leave it open so that people can make their minds up. But we do complete the sentence in many different ways, and all the way through the exhibition you'll see suggestions for that.
There's four fantastic things. First of all, there's the costumes, which are great. If you're interested in fashion, design, they're just great. If you hate fashion, come and see all the original design work for albums and music, all that sort of stuff. So if you like fashion, it's great. If you don't like fashion, it's great. Then there's the music. I mean, what can you say? All the way through, the whole show's carried on headphones, so if you just want to come and reminisce about your past, you can pick up all the albums, talk to your friends about them. And then if you don't like any of that, the fourth thing is, at the end, there's just a big spectacular about Bowie on stage over 40 years.
I think that everybody should come here immediately and get in as soon as they can. I think it's the most extraordinary thing. It's like a Bowie bath. And for those that don't know about David Bowie, and there are still lots of people who think he's just a rock star, it's an amazing introduction to someone who's a kind of portal